The year was 2006, and the concept of a player career mode in team-based sports video games was still in its infancy. Madden 06 was the first to try it the year prior, and it was surprisingly deep considering its early bird status. But today we're talking about Virtua Pro Football, for it possessed a player career mode that, had this game been more popular and not overlooked, it could have revolutionized the entire genre early on. In fairness, there's a reason why Virtua Pro got overlooked. Whilst the gameplay isn't bad per se, it's not up to the standard of FIFA or PES, even by 06 standards. The game also lacks a proper manager or master league mode. Player mode is supposed to make up the difference, and whilst it has its own shortcomings, there are some brilliant things here too. For it's not just about playing the matches, it's also a training and lifestyle sim. You can start your career at any second tier club in one of the game's main 6 European nations and select from any position except for goalkeeper. You then have some keywords to pick from, which gives your player a little bit of a boost in certain areas, though the effects of these keywords can be counterintuitive, so it requires some trial and error to get exactly the start you want. It may come as a letdown for some though that you only get to actually play 4 matches in your first season, and whilst you can get opportunities to play more matches later, even if you have a deep cup run for both club and country, the maximum amount you can play in any season is 9. However, this reduction of the season to a few key dates does speed up the game, making it easier to play multiple seasons or even an entire career, and it opens the door for a different core gameplay loop. See, your most important stat is motivation, because when it's high you'll get more points for an auto and extra training than when it's low. But if you do extra training when motivation is full, you'll instead play a mini game where at the cost of all of your motivation. But you have to be able to access extra training to grow your player faster, so eventually minigame is the only option, and you'll have to do well in the minigame in order to get a partial motivation refill and offset the drawbacks of losing it all. Either way, you build motivation back up with more extra training, but if you try to do that when your condition is low, there's a high chance you'll get injured, so you have to rest every now and then, and ideally you need to rest when your motivation is high, so you can ride the benefits of increased auto training points for another week. And then there were various items that would also affect your player's growth or other aspects of their lifestyle. Boots being particularly important, as if you purchased and equipped a pair, you would gain double the points when doing extra training of the corresponding category. Whew, sorry if I overwhelmed you there. Just wanted to stress how many layers of depth this player mode has before you even get to the matches, which I'll go over now. You control the entire team, but you don't take over until the second half. You'll be given match scenarios. Sometimes you are spotted a lead and asked to hold it, and sometimes the situation isn't so good. Either way, it's up to you to get the best possible result by scoring goals and not conceding goals. A secondary aim in these matches is to get your player heavily involved in the action. Every action he takes results in improvement points at the end of the match. For example, running with the ball a lot will improve your dribble skill and pace. And every little bit helps because your player starts out well below par and you'll be spending most of the 6-season career mode trying to catch up. Due to the limitations of you only playing 3 to 4 league games per season, the game instead derives your performance in the league on your relation rating with the team. And whilst wins in these matches certainly help, so does just doing a lot of relation training, and you can max out your relation rating even if you're not doing so well in the games you play, with the only match really mattering being the last one, where you have to get at bare minimum a draw to have a chance of winning the league. If you do qualify to win the league on a draw result, however, Alan Green gets a little bit confused.
Coventry, champions! So, at last, they get the cup.
Once you reach the first division, you also get to play in the European Cup, and that at least is a lot more directly in the player's hands, as each match is a simple win or go home situation. Between all this, random events can happen that make the player mode more interesting. For example, after training, a teammate might ask you for advice, and depending on the response you give, you may receive improvement points as a reward. You may also encounter people while going out, and these events also have various benefits and also occasionally drawbacks depending on how you handle yourself. In specific circumstances, you could even meet a potential girlfriend, and then you could take them with you when going out to build up the relationship. Different friends had different likes and dislikes, and this also presented a balancing act, as sometimes you would have to take a week off training to acknowledge their birthday by giving them a present, or otherwise making them feel more appreciated if you haven't seen them in some time. This, combined with other mechanics I mentioned previously, made money a valuable commodity in the player mode, which in turn made the offers you received at the end of each season important, both in regards to moving to bigger and better clubs and getting more salary in the process. Now let's compare all of this to the general state of sports video games in 2006. There weren't a lot of player career modes out there outside of Madden, and when there were, they tended to take on a different flavour, such as a street ball campaign in the NBA games. Pro Evolution Soccer did have a player career mode that was in its infancy, but it wasn't ported over to the global version until 2009. FIFA likewise didn't create a Be a Pro mode that felt like a career until their 09 release. After this, the floodgates opened for player career modes, but what they all had in common was a tight focus on the gameplay on the field, with the role-playing mechanics taking a back seat. This changed when the 8th gen version of NBA 2K14 dropped, introducing a number of new features that many other player career modes have since taken inspiration from. But consider the following. The 2K series has press conferences and, from 14 onwards, cutscenes with dialogue options that affect your player's personality. Virtua Pro did it first. The early installments of my career had a key game system, where you could sim past the less interesting games and speed up your season and career. This was a popular enough mechanic to be brought back and refined eventually, but Virtua Pro had it first. And the concept of playable training between the matches has also become more widespread, with FIFA, now named FC, in particular, using it heavily in both the manager and player career modes, but Virtua Pro once again did this first. And in my opinion at least, Virtua Pro's off-field activities never outstay their welcome, which is more than can be said about 2K during its goofy Spike Lee and B Fresh era. The less said about that girl, the better. So in summation, Virtua Pro Football's player career mode had a lot of interesting concepts. It's a real shame that they were stuck in a game that was quickly forgotten about. Would have been nice to have seen something like this in a Pro Evolution Soccer title. And in fact, many sports game makers to this day could take a lot of inspiration from what this game managed to do back in 2006. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're interested in seeing more of this game, I'll be doing a full run of the player mode using this player and uploading the highlights to YouTube. I think it'll be the first completed playthrough of this game on YouTube once I'm done, so if you're interested, you know what to do.